So the LA Chargers fired head coach Brandon Staley last week. That was a foregone conclusion. I think it's also a foregone conclusion. They're going to call Michigan football coach Jim Harbaugh and offer him the job. Is it a foregone conclusion that he takes the gig? That's what we're going to discuss right here on Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We always appreciate you know that. And we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, Jim Harbaugh to the NFL. A bunch of different scenarios. We're going to go through those here. Happens every year. Portal news and some great Big Ten college basketball this past weekend. Plus, we have our top 10 observations from the weekend. All right. There are several rites of passage this time of year. You can mark your calendar by it every single year. The Christmas rush comes and goes. Things slow down a bit as New Year's approaches. Maybe you're off on vacation that week, shutting it down a little bit. Lots of stuff going on. The bowl matchups get better with each and every day. The air is just filled with anticipation from the latest transfer portal, or maybe you and your friends are talking about the latest high school signing commitments. It's a great time of year. And then there's New Year's Day, right? We got resolutions for a better lifestyle, college football playoffs, national championship is crowned. The list goes on. But the biggest of the rites of passages or the traditions in the new year each year are the Jim Harbaugh to the NFL rumors that are everywhere, grabbing headlines. And every year, there are about a half a dozen coaching openings, give or take, in the NFL. And every year, Jim Harbaugh is kind of right in the middle of the whole thing. We always discuss this, right? And given his past, his successful stint as the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, his past statements about his desire to win the greatest award in sports, the Super Bowl, all that come into play at this time of year with Jim Harbaugh, right? And then his name comes up on numerous short lists of candidates for every job that seems to come open around the NFL. This year may be a little unique considering Harbaugh's success at Michigan, his ability to coach quarterbacks, his constant fight with the NCAA, and the likelihood that he may have more fights and suspensions coming with the NCAA in 2024. So where do things stand right now with Harbaugh and Michigan? Well, there's a $55 million contract extension offer sitting on his desk right now. Now, Michigan has stood behind him through thick and thin, right? And then there was the story we did, of course, last week right here on Locked On Big Ten. It was labeled the poison pill. That's part of that contract. If you missed it, go back and check it out from last week. It's wherever you get your podcast. It's on there. Just go back a couple. And it was quite popular from last week because I think it was an interesting point. But Michigan would like Harbaugh to sign an addendum to this new contract extension that says he will not pursue NFL job openings. Now, it's unclear if that is for just this hiring cycle or if it's for the duration of the contract extension. We haven't been able to get a confirmed source on that either way, but there have been reports on both sides there. Now, here at Locked On Big Ten, we predicted that he would not sign that addendum. I mean, why would he? Why would he cut all of his leverage in half? And in any business dealing, why would anybody do that? Plus, the clock is running. Harbaugh can run the clock out on this now. He's very busy right now. Very busy right now, right? That extension can continue to sit on his desk. After all, he's busy preparing for a college football playoff game against Alabama coming up. And, there's a national championship to go after. And there's the transfer portal chaos. There's signing day this week. There's a lot going on. He can keep himself very, very busy. It can be very difficult to reach until after the college football playoffs are over in January. And by then, it'll be NFL coaching vacancy season in full force. Just to let you know, just a recap. The NFL season is over Sunday, January 7th. Then the first Monday after the season every year, we always refer to it in the media as Black Monday. That's the day all the coaches get fired, on the 8th. That is Monday, January 8th. Well, Monday, January 8th is also the day of the College Football National Championship in Houston. All right? So it is feasible that Harbaugh could be in Houston on the 8th for the national championship, maybe even raise a national championship trophy at NRG Stadium at the end of the night, and then announce the next day on Tuesday the 9th that he's off to be the head coach of some NFL team. Maybe. It could happen. You can do that before the team even lands back in Ann Arbor. It could happen. He might not even get back to his desk where that extension is sitting to sign it. So that addendum about, hey, let's not look at head coaching jobs. Again, he's going to be able to run the clock out on this thing and do whatever he wants. And even if that includes staying at Michigan. But if he does want to go to the NFL, take a look at what's on tap right now. And this could change a lot as the days and weeks go by. But there are 3 teams out there that his name frequently comes up in conversation about, and 2 of them have already fired their head coach. Number 1 is the Chicago Bears. Now, Jim used to play for the Chicago Bears, and they've got salary cap room. They'll have the top 2 or 2 of the top 3 picks in the upcoming NFL draft. And if the team wants to move on from Justin Fields, a quarterback, and have a brand new quarterback and a brand new coach and a new day, they can do all that with Harbaugh. But I don't think that's going to happen, because the president of the Bears is now former Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren, and I don't think that Harbaugh and Warren ever saw eye to eye. So I don't think that's going to happen. It could be like a lot of friction, kind of like it was with Harbaugh in the front office with the 49ers if he goes and works with Warren and the Bears. That's how I see it. Now, another possibility is the Las Vegas Raiders. Owner Mark Davis has tried to hire Harbaugh before. He's made no secret that he would love to hire Harbaugh. The team's quarterback situation is real bad. It's real iffy. It's a mess. I'm not sure it's an attractive job for Harbaugh right now. So I wouldn't even go there. But at the top, we mentioned the LA Chargers. That might be a strong possibility. And believe me, they will call Jim Harbaugh. I don't think anybody denies that they will call him. They absolutely will. The job is attractive. The Chargers are in LA. They play in one of the coolest stadiums in the entire world. They got one of the most talented quarterbacks in the entire NFL, and he's an underdeveloped quarterback. The problem with Justin Herbert, he's been poorly coached. He is not developed. He's not any different than he was 4 years ago. Harbaugh's got a knack for working with quarterbacks. I mean, it's just such an attractive match made in heaven on both sides on this deal. With a little good coaching, they could turn that thing around quickly in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And I think Herbert could be a superstar in the NFL and getting that upper tier of quarterbacks that we talk about. I think it's a good fit. I really do. But there'll be other openings to consider as well. And a lot of things could change between now and then. And there's also the possibility, look, that Harbaugh may still have a great love for his alma mater, and he may just want to stay at Michigan, right? He's had unbelievable support from the president on down. He's winning. He's got it rolling right now. Maybe he stays. But we'll find out soon enough. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks with Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. Certainly would love your opinion on any of this as well. Hit me up at Twitter at TalkBig10, YouTube, and of course, TalkBig10 number 10, our website as well. Always love your comments there. We'll continue to talk about football. The transfer portal is big news. I know later this week is signing day. So we have some news and some theories and some rumors. We'll put it all together a little bit. Plus, this past weekend was a great weekend for Big Ten college basketball. We'll hit up on some of that as well. And then hang around to the end, because I have my top 10 observations, our Big Ten top 10 that we do on Mondays. That's all coming up right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy for your football team, your basketball team. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Anything that makes your car look cooler, run better, everything. If you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right. I want to thank everybody, whether it be today, last week, since last summer. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Really, really appreciate that. We have grown so much in the 6 months that we've been here, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, if you haven't, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or share or follow or like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. All right. The life of quarterback Kyle McCord continues to be very interesting to me. You know, after fighting for and winning the starting job at Ohio State, remember the battle through the summer into the first couple of weeks of the season, going head-to-head with Devin Brown over there. He gets the job. He goes 11-1. And even after all of that, I think he went into Ryan Day's office and said, hey, man, I'm not going to make any nil money if I'm on the bench. Can you guarantee I'm going to be the starting guy? I see we got a bunch of young guys here that are coming after my job at quarterback. Can you guarantee after what I did, 11-1, that I'm going to be the starter? And Ryan Day couldn't do that, nor should he have at that point. But, you know, should have told him, hey, stay and fight for the job, improve, build a legacy at Ohio State. And 2024 could be an interesting year. But being on the bench was not going to be lucrative. And that was a possibility. So Kyle McCord hit the bricks. Now, he did say he did not want to go to another Big Ten school, and he didn't want to go to a lesser Big Ten school. And he didn't want to go to another school that was going to have to play Ohio State. So that was why it was really weird when he started talking with Matt Rule and Nebraska. Very strange. They're on the schedule, by the way, and I think we all agree they're a lesser school football-wise than Ohio State. But it seemed like Kyle McCord and Nebraska were going to be a done deal until it wasn't, and he was the one that announced this. Like, I'm not going to Nebraska. My services are still available. Let's talk. So I think, this is my opinion here, I think he got spooked. I think he got spooked by the strong rumors that five-star high school quarterback recruit Dylan Raiola was going to flip from Georgia and go to Nebraska. I think he thought that was a very strong possibility, and he bolted. He says, you know what? I'm not going to Nebraska. I'm not guaranteed a job at Ohio State, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be guaranteed a job here at Nebraska. I'm not coming to Nebraska. I'm going to go somewhere where I can play and get paid nil money. I think that's what happened. That's all my opinion, but I think that's what happened. But now we learn that other school, that new home is going to be Syracuse. In the ACC. And I don't think they have a particularly, when I glanced at it, a particularly tough ACC schedule next year. Maybe he can go 11-1 again. I don't know. No offense to Syracuse fans out there, and I don't know how many Syracuse fans we have locked on Big Ten, but that's a huge step down. Humongous step down for Kyle McCord to go from Ohio State to maybe Nebraska to Syracuse. Yeah. I mean, when's the last great quarterback they had there since like Donovan McNabb? There. I mean, I said it, and I'll probably get all the ugly texts and mean tweets and all that stuff. And so, look, we wish him well there. I'm rooting for him. I hope he does okay. But that's a huge step down, in my opinion. And I think that was a situation that got a little messed up. Remember how the Buckeyes wide receiver Julian Fleming was toying with becoming a package deal with him over at Nebraska, right? Well, Fleming, he's not going to Lincoln either, and he is projected to go to Penn State to play for the Nittany Lions, which that was almost a must-get for the Nittany Lions. They had to come up with a decent receiver, so they've got that. So good for them if that takes place. Now, we have talked a lot over the last week about Michigan State and all the change going on there. And, of course, all three former Michigan State scholarship quarterbacks have all found a home now. Caden Hauser, he has landed at East Carolina from the portal. Noah Kim going to Coastal Carolina. Sam Levitt going to Arizona State. Two of those three we've already talked about here. So now all three are gone. And new Spartans head coach Jonathan Smith, he's bringing his former Oregon State quarterback Aiden Childs to East Lansing. So Childs is a former four-star. He did play some during a true freshman year for the Beavers this past season. So he's a young, up-and-coming, very talented quarterback, and he's going to be the quarterback of record at Michigan State. Also, former Badgers offensive lineman Trey Wittig is transferring to Indiana. He's 6'7", 318 pounds. You know how good that Wisconsin offensive line was in their running game with Braylon Allen. Pretty good. He's a graduate transfer now. So he's coming right in. He's got 34 games of experience. He started 8 games for the Badgers. And I think this is a really nice pickup for Curt Cignetti, the new head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. And in another pleasant surprise for the Indiana Hoosiers and Cignetti, IU wide receiver Donovan McCulley, he has decided to remove himself from the portal, and he will come back to Indiana this season. And he was their best receiver this year in 2023. He'll be back in 2024. He received an offer from Michigan, by the way, decided not to go there. He took a visit with Kentucky, decided not to go there, decided to return to Bloomington after weighing his options. IU also got a commitment from former Ohio quarterback Curtis Rourke. So the Hoosier roster is starting to take place a little bit with the new regime in town. And speaking of Indiana one more time, and fired former coach Tom Allan just got a job. He will be the defensive coordinator for James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Of course, they lost Manny Diaz, who left to go take the Duke job. And so Tom Allan is going to be the defensive coordinator there at Penn State. And after he got $15 million of his $20 million buyout negotiated, he will not have any offset money. So it's all extra. It's all gravy. Whatever he makes as a defensive coordinator there at Penn State, and gets to keep his buyout money from Indiana. So Tom Allan lands on his feet, and a nice place to go. In addition to football, there was some pretty spectacular basketball this past weekend around the Big Ten. I'm not going to go into all of it here, but there was a lot of Big Ten basketball going on. Number 3 Purdue beat number 1 Arizona in Indianapolis, 92-84 over the weekend. That should go a long way to helping out their seed when it comes time in March. Zach Edey had 22 and 9 rebounds. Fletcher Lawyer he tied a career high with 27, and Braden Smith added 26. When you have that 1-2-3 punch with those three guys, it's virtually unbeatable. Unbeatable. So the Boilermakers were really, really rolling this past weekend. And Matt Painter says both of these teams will play again next year in Las Vegas, by the way. And speaking of Matt Painter, that was win number 423. He ties former Illinois coach Lou Henson for the fourth place all time in the Big Ten coaching list there. And Purdue hosts Jacksonville on Thursday as they continue their week. And I don't know if you caught also on a nationally televised game in Bloomington at Assembly Hall. It was rocking. The home court advantage was happening. Everything was right there for the taking against number 2 Kansas. The Hoosiers had a 13-point lead in the second half until they didn't. Kansas won 75-71. Bright spot for the Hoosiers, though. They had a couple of blowout losses this year to ranked UConn and to unranked Auburn. I think this maybe is something to build on. Mackenzie Mbuka is starting to play a little better now. Their 5-star kid that they got. And maybe this will be a nice confidence boost for them moving forward as we get closer to getting back into Big Ten play with the new year as well. They're 2-0 in the Big Ten already. So we'll see how that plays out. Also, I want to tell you guys, while I have your attention, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, in addition to this one, okay? It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day, and it has local experts from Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. This show appears on there as well, so feel free to check it out along with some others. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So check all of that out. All right, what I want to do I want to check out the Big Ten top 10 observations by me from this past weekend. I love sharing these with you. You guys always give me feedback. Maybe something else. Maybe you don't like the order. Maybe there's something we missed that you say, hey, don't forget about this person. We love that kind of stuff. All that kind of feedback is great. We'll do that here in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, let's get rolling here with everything we got going on from this past weekend. And again, basketball intensive, kind of the quiet before the storm. Bull season did start this past weekend, but not with any Big Ten teams. That all gets going here after this week. So, and of course, it leads up to the college football playoffs as well. We'll have a lot more football, but this is basketball centric. I'm going to put it on the screen, and we'll take a look at it here. And for those that are listening, maybe on audio only, wherever you get your podcast, we'll describe what's going on screen. All right. So we started off at number 10, and I got Iowa basketball. The reason I put them on here, they played FAMU this weekend and won. Owen Freeman, 14 points and 11 rebounds, got the double-double. Wanted to give him some action and give some credit on this list as well. Let us go now to number 9. The story we just talked about, Penn State hiring Tom Allan. Big story. I think that's good. Look, I'm an Indiana alum. Nobody says anything bad about Tom Allan, the man. Look, he had a pretty good run a couple of years ago, a lot of excitement. And this is a coach that kids love playing for. The defensive players at Penn State are going to love playing for Tom Allan. So he's now the new defensive coordinator, and that was his background. He was the Indiana defensive coordinator before they ended up hiring him, promoting him as a head coach when the job opened up a few years ago. All right, so that will work. So 2 new coordinators for James Franklin and Penn State this year. Let's see how all that pans out. Again, the goal is to be better than Michigan and Ohio State. They're better than everybody else. Could they be better than Michigan and Ohio State? At number 8, I'm put Penn State women, the basketball team here. You know, they scored 119 points against St. Francis. I know it was St. Francis, but 119 points, that's rolling. You got to make shots no matter who you're playing. They did. Congratulations to them. At number 7, I put Indiana's Trey Galloway. Had a career-high 28 points in that Kansas game. He was just feeding into the crowd at Assembly Hall. Assembly Hall was feeding into him. He was making 3-pointers. Like, he had really struggled from the perimeter. I don't think he'd made a perimeter shot since like mid-November. And he's a smart kid. He's one of those kids that just hustles non-stop. Great, smart basketball player. And when his shots go in, he can be lethal for the other team. Like, he was among the leaders of, in fact, he might have led the Big Ten in 3-point shooting percentage last year. So he can do it. Just had an awful slump this past year, the start of this year so far, and really did well. Unfortunately, the Hoosiers couldn't get the win against Kansas. Let's go to number 6. A shout out to Rutgers basketball. Clifford Omoruyi had a career-high 25 points along with 11 rebounds versus Long Island University. He had 3 big dunks. He had 4 dunks on the day, but he had 3 right at the end of the first half. That really set the tone. It was something spectacular. Made the list here at number 6. Let's go to number 5. Put on here Ohio State. The Buckeyes beating UCLA 67-60. And you know what? They had an awful day shooting. The Buckeyes did. They were 1 for 15 from 3 land and still won this basketball game. In fact, that 1-3 came very late in the game when they really had to have it. So the Buckeyes beating the UCLA Bruins, a couple of blue bloods going out there, 67-60, and despite an awful night. If Ohio State can start hitting shots, man, look out. At number 4 on our list, I put Michigan head coach Juwan Howard. Now, he's been in the news a lot lately, but the reason we have it here, he resumed head coaching duties for the first time since September. He had open heart surgery in September, was gone, started working his way kind of like an assistant behind Phil Martelli. He finally took over the reins as the head basketball coach. This despite the story about the investigation going on about whether there was a little melee with the strength and conditioning coach that is still being investigated. That was before the Iowa road trip last weekend. But that put by the wayside for now. He had been cleared to return as the head coach, both from doctors and, of course, the athletic director, Ward Manuel. Good to go. Juwan Howard back in charge of the Michigan basketball team. At number 3 on our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend, Iowa Lady Hawkeyes, Caitlin Clark scored 38 points versus Cleveland State. She just keeps on rolling, keeps adding to her point total. She's now the 9th all-time scorer in women's college basketball. Congratulations to her. At number 2 on our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend, Michigan State, Tom Izzo. We spent a lot of time talking about him and this team last week, and they just haven't been able to put it together. Well, guess what? Number 6 Baylor found out they were able to get it together. So Michigan State gets the win. They have been struggling inside. Teams have been overplaying their guards up top, but they were able to put everything together, all the chemistry together here against number 6 ranked Baylor. That'll go a long way again in March when it comes time for racking up resume. Because look, Michigan State, they're not afraid to play people. I think they've had like 4 or 5 ranked teams on their schedule so far, and they haven't been winning them, but they've been playing them. Tom Izzo has never been afraid to schedule good ranked teams here in the pre-conference schedule. So, but they get the win here against number 6 Baylor and just rocked them on that. In fact, they reached a 30-point lead in each half in this game. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. It was all Michigan State all day long. And at number 1, going to put Purdue beating the number 1 team in the country in Arizona as our number 1 observation over the weekend. So that's it. Our Big Ten top 10 list. What do you think? Hit us up on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Also on our website, talkbig10number10.com, and on YouTube as well. So pretty good list, I think. Let me know what you think. Also, be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now. Hit us on the subscribe button. It's free, and you're in with us in the Big Ten Club here. And wherever you get your podcasts, with your favorite podcast app, get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten, your team every day, as soon as it is available each and every day. Also, the reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories every day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering the league. As I mentioned, this show is on there too. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe for the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It is fantastic. All right, this is a big week. We can talk about this Harbaugh thing. I'll wait for your comments, and it's always an interesting story. Going to take a look at some other Big Ten teams and where they are in the portal. And don't forget signing day. Our attention on the high school kids coming. That starts Wednesday. That's the early signing period. Very, very busy time in college football. And then our Big Ten teams start playing at bowl games starting through this weekend coming up. And it's a great time of year right into the national championship. So thanks for hanging with us. We always love it. We always appreciate your visits and can't wait to talk to you next time. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.